Hello, this is part one of our cohort tracking exercise. And here we'll talk a little bit about why we do cohort tracking, why it's important to institutions, and why it's important for institutional performance. The second and third part of these screencasts will talk about the data itself, how to move around in it, how to manipulate it, and what sorts of formulas and functions will produce a cohort analysis. Achieving a Dream is famous for using cohort analysis. It actually began some years before that, but standardized in the course of working with institutions to develop 5 data points which are important and which institutions can use internally as well as to benchmark their performance against other institutions that are using the same definitions. So the central question is, of entering students, how many go into developmental coursework and complete that coursework? Second, what percentage enroll and complete gatekeeper courses of those who are enrolled in 100 level courses and above? A gatekeeper course would be a course required in a major, such as, for instance, college algebra or an equivalent for an associate degree. Nursing, perhaps anatomy and physiology would be gatekeeper classes in that major. What percentage of students successfully complete their courses with a degree of C or higher? Not necessarily a lofty B or an A, but C. It triggers important events in the student's progression through an institution, satisfying a prerequisite, for instance, or keeping financial aid alive. 4. What percentage re-enroll for a second semester or a second year? Obviously, if you're not around, it's pretty difficult to complete a certificate or a degree. And then what percentage earn certificates and or degrees, which is a very important theme, one that's been endorsed by the Lumina Foundation, the Gates Foundation, the federal government, in recognition of the fact that the United States has fallen pretty far behind other countries in the proportion of young people who have completed college degrees. This is cohort data drawn from work in the state of Texas. And there you see the blue bar, which are the total number of students who are entering the institution. So the first time in college, they haven't been anywhere else. And this can include both part-time and full-time students. 70% of the group then went into developmental education. Of that group, 32% completed at least one developmental education class over the course of the 3 years of this study. When you do a cohort, it's always important to nominate a time by which you are going to calculate these statistics. It's fairly typical to use 3 years. The federal government also has a 6-year cohort retention rate that we'll discuss in class. A chilling statistic is this statistic here. 16% moved from the lowest level of developmental math to the first college level math class. That would be, in this institution, 3 classes down, but a survival rate of about 16%. 46% completed all courses successfully that they enrolled for. These were successful students. We would ask what happened to the other 54%. 17% completed a gateway class. The spring to fall persistence is 63%, while the fall to fall persistence rate is 21% from the first fall. Again, if you don't come back, it's pretty difficult for you to complete a degree, resulting in a 9% overall degree completion rate from the group that entered in the given fall. This was a 3-year span. I believe we're talking the fall of 2009 all the way to the spring of 2010. and 12. So, the reason that we do this work, the reason that cohort analysis is so important is that you can identify overall achievement gaps at the institution. It gives you a sense of globally students, how many are moving through, of all students, how many are making it through developmental education, how many are making it through gateway classes. It's of the most value, though, when you disaggregate. Disaggregating typically is done by demographic factors, race and ethnicity, for example. Looking at low income status is another explanatory variable. Looking at gender, looking at perhaps high school preparation, age. The more precision that you can bring, the more that you disaggregate, the more that you'll understand where students are making it through and where they're not making it through your own internal pipeline. You can begin to answer this conundrum. That is, what types of students change in what ways given what types of influences. So, on now to the next screencast. We've set the stage for why we do this work.